Welcome to Verge News, where we dive into the latest updates in immigration, travel, and border policies from around the world. Today, we'll be discussing the sharp decline in international tourism to the United States and the various factors driving this downturn. Joining me for this conversation is my colleague, Jack. Great to have you here.
Thanks, Victoria. It's great to be here. Tourism is such an integral part of America's economy, and yet we're now seeing a serious shift in how the rest of the world views the U.S. as a travel destination. There is so much to unpack, so let's get started.
Absolutely. So, to begin with, international tourism has long been a cornerstone of the U.S. economy, bringing in hundreds of billions of dollars annually and supporting millions of jobs. But as of 2025, we're seeing a major drop in tourist numbers, with many citing the policies and rhetoric from President Donald Trump's administration as a driving factor.
Right? And it's not just a minor shift. Specific policies like the travel bans, stricter visa rules, and strained cross-border relations have all contributed to the U.S. appearing less welcoming to global visitors. For example, let's talk about Canada, historically one of the major sources of tourists to the U.S. The relationship has really been damaged.
It's clear the connection with Canada has taken a hit. President Trump's controversial remarks, including suggesting that Canada could someday become the 51st U.S. state, caused widespread outrage among Canadians. On top of that, tariffs on Canadian goods have escalated tensions, further deepening these divides.
Exactly, and the fallout is substantial. A report from the U.S. Travel Association estimates that a 10% drop in Canadian visitors could lead to a $2 billion shortfall in tourism revenue. And let's not forget the job impact. About 14,000 jobs in the travel and hospitality sectors are at risk.
That's staggering. And Canada isn't the only country feeling alienated under these policies. The administration's proposed travel bans, aimed at citizens from 41 countries, have also raised eyebrows. These measures, while framed as national security tactics, have sparked significant criticism for deterring both tourists and diplomatic goodwill.
That's right. The visa process was already challenging before these proposals, and now the potential of being denied a visa is enough to discourage many international visitors from planning trips to the U.S. One striking example comes from Colombia, where visa interviews have been suspended due to deportation-related disagreements.
Yes, Colombian tourists are now looking elsewhere for travel. The perception of targeted policies has made it clear that many feel unwelcome, much like prospective travelers from other key markets, such as China, India, and parts of Latin America. Long delays in visa processing only add to the frustration.
And this goes beyond just visas. There's also the economic impact of tariffs imposed by President Trump's administration. Higher costs in industries such as airlines and hospitality make travel more expensive for everyone. Canadian Airlines, for instance, have already cut back on cross-border flights in anticipation of fewer travelers.
It's a domino effect. Strained diplomatic ties, complicated entry processes, and rising travel costs all make it harder for businesses reliant on tourism to stay afloat. Even major companies like Marriott International are tightening their belts with massive layoffs and cost-cutting measures.
That's an alarming trend. Beyond the corporate giants, small businesses like restaurants and local tour operators are also taking a hit. Many of them depend on steady flows of international tourists, and the downturn is leaving gaping holes in their revenue streams. In 2023, international tourism contributed over $213 billion. It's hard to imagine how such losses could be offset.
The reputation of the U.S. as a must-visit destination is waning. Other nations are stepping up to fill the gap. Countries like Canada, European Union members, and Australia are promoting visa-free travel and easier entry processes, capitalizing on the opening created by U.S. policies.
That's a key point. While the U.S. appears more restrictive, other nations are branding themselves as inclusive and easy to navigate. The decline in U.S. tourism isn't just about money. It's also about cultural exchange and the country's global standing.
So, what's the takeaway here? Rebuilding trust with international visitors is essential. Revisiting immigration policies, streamlining visa processes, and repairing diplomatic relationships with key countries like Canada and Colombia will be vital steps in reversing this trend.
Well said. Without these changes, the U.S. risks further economic damage and an increasingly tarnished reputation as a tourist destination. It's time for deliberate action to ensure the tourism sector can recover and thrive again.
That's all for today on Visa Verge News. Thank you for tuning in, and we hope you found this discussion insightful. For more immigration and tourism updates, visit us at visaverge.com.